Not open right now because on the hotline we have the head basketball coach of the Struthers Wildcats, Mike Wernicki. Coach, how are you today?
I'm great, and let me start off by saying thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and I think what you're doing for high school basketball is in our area is tremendous. What your network does as far as showing the games and as much coverage as you give to the coaches and giving them a platform on both the boys and girls side to to talk about their respective teams. I appreciate it, and I'm sure everybody in the area does. You do a tremendous job, so thank you.
Well, I'll tell you, in the pandemic, thank God we have YSN. If you're a basketball, a football fan, a high school fan, thank God for YSN because, not many people are going to be allowed to watch your exciting team play, just the parents for right now, and hopefully, knock on wood, by the first of the year, and hopefully as we go into late January and tournament time, that ban will be lifted and we'll get some more people into the field house because, damn, your basketball team is good, Coach.
I don't know if I'd go that far right now. I think we have the potential to be good. We have a lot of things that we're still trying to work out. We've got a lot of young kids that are stepping up into more significant roles. Obviously, I've got three really good returning players in Aiden Slocum, Trey Metzger, and Brandon Washington, who've been through the fire with me for the last, Trey and Brandon at least for the last 2 years, and Aiden from last year. But, we have a lot of guys that are trying to step up and figure out their role. And I'll be honest with you, for me, I'm trying to figure out the roles of the guys and rotations and all that stuff. I mean, my guys have worked extremely hard, and they've put the pressure on me from the sense that, I've had a lot of kids get a lot better in the off season. And, sometimes those decisions, they're not popular and they're not easy to make.
Coach, was the gauntlet thrown down in terms of the kids looking to get after it even more this offseason? Was that gauntlet thrown down when you guys made your district runner-up run?
It was very exciting. The community was tremendous as far as their support for us and how they traveled with us, really from the start of the season. And, I congratulate against Cheney, but we came up a little short, and I felt like we had a chance to win that game. But, that's neither here nor there. But, yeah, to answer your question, the returning guys, once you get a taste of some success, they're eager. And it was also enhanced by the fact that, they couldn't do anything. Our season ended, and they weren't in the gym until really June 1st when we were able to start again. And, it was exciting to get everybody back. But with that success and that hunger comes a lot of expectation. And, when you do have some guys that have had some success and they're returning, especially at the high school level, you really have to up your level of commitment as far as the weight room and skill work, because now we went from, a kind of an afterthought to, somebody that, people are looking at as, hey, we have to get ready to play this game. Not that anybody ever took us lightly last year, but, when you're coming off that type of season, the expectations are different as well as the preparation from everybody you play.
You're not sneaking up on anybody anytime soon. Not with the district runner-up run in a very deep Division II Boardman District, I might add, and it's even deeper this year, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But you guys are off to a 2-0 start, and kudos on the non-conference schedule. You've opened up playing up with a Division I Fitch program and playing D2 Canfield. The Northeast 8 is obviously going to be a very, very competitive conference. It normally is. This is one of those years where you may not have the same record as last year, but you might be in better shape going into the tournament.
You're correct about that. There's no question. I mean, I don't evaluate our season or how we're playing based on record, because when you play a competitive schedule and you're in a league that's as competitive as ours, the record doesn't always tell the story. And we've just tried to say let's just focus on today. I mean, I don't want to give you coach speak, but if you start getting ahead of yourself and skipping steps, then you're going to get beat. And, I think we very well could get into the tournament this year with a different record than last year and maybe feel like we're playing better at that point. I don't know. But, again, if you take anything for granted, you're going to lose because, like, as you said, our district has so many high-quality teams in it. I mean, I don't want to list teams and leave anybody out, but, I mean, the usual suspects, whenever Cheney gets going again, they're tremendous. Keith at Ursuline does an unbelievable job, and he's got so many good young kids back. They're tremendous, and Coach Grizz at Poland. I'm just talking about teams that are there every single year, and that doesn't include. I mean, I could go down the list of teams that this year I think are very good. Your Moonies and your West Branches, and like I said, I'm not trying to leave anybody out because there's a lot of good teams. So it's going to be a fun year if we can keep it going.
Mike Wernicki, the head basketball coach for the Struthers boys basketball program, joining me on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline. Coach, how difficult has it been in the COVID world? And I know this firsthand because, I was helping out the Coach D and everyone down in Leetonia, and you got to wear a mask and trying to talk through a mask, it's kind of tough, and you really can't hear anybody, and the direction may not be the as clear as you want it. How difficult has it been for you in this COVID world to coach?
I'll say this: it hasn't been difficult from the standpoint that you might think. It's the mask is an inconvenience, but again, I respect what's going on out there, and trust me, my goal, I want to keep myself safe, my family safe, and obviously my players safe. So. That's the time that we're in. So we try to make no excuses about that, and we don't even complain about it because that's we're trying to set the example, and that it is what it is. Is it harder for me to get things out? Not really. I'm not going to use that as an excuse. It's just not that hard. The challenge has been more for me. We've tried to take the onus off the kids because everything is so fluid right now. You really get an appreciation for your administration in times like this because, like I'll give you an example. Wednesday, I'm getting ready to start practice at 7, and I find out just before practice that Jefferson canceled. So, we spent a decent amount of time from the Fitch game preparing for a Jefferson game, 2 days later, which was supposed to be today. That didn't happen. So now all of a sudden you're scrambling to try to find games, and, the kids didn't know when our next game was going to be. For them, when they get news like that, it gets disappointing. But, I've said to the kids since the day we started, your job's not to worry about any of that stuff. That's my job. You just come every day with the expectation to get better and to compete, and I'll figure it out. And, my administration has worked tirelessly to keep us on track as far as games. We were able to replace the games that we lost, and the other ones that we lost, we haven't lost because they're league games and they've just been moved. So we're still at our full 22, and I'm grateful for that. The time frame and the flow makes it difficult because you're preparing, and then all of a sudden I had to put the Jefferson file away and figure out what the next game was going to be. But again, those are my responsibilities and not the kids. And my kids have done a tremendous job of just allowing me to lead them in that direction. And they've been enthusiastic every single day, no matter what the circumstances have been.
Coach Wernicki joining me on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline. And I know ADs are they're running around trying to get games if they've lost a game, whether it's the other team has had to cancel the game because of a COVID outbreak or some other scenario. The bottom line is there have been teams that have been playing other teams that they normally wouldn't be playing. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, especially if you get a Northeastern Ohio Power to come down to the field house or you go to them, and it gives you an opportunity to see someone that you might be seeing later on down the tournament trail.
Yeah, no question. I mean, we just picked up East Liverpool, which is, they were in their district championship game last year. They are traditionally, I can't speak for all the teams in Columbiana County, but I would say that program has the most tradition and probably the most success in Columbiana County. They've got a tremendous group coming back. So now, here we are, and we've got South Range on Tuesday, and now we've got East Liverpool coming to the Fieldhouse next Friday. So to speak to your point, yeah, I mean, you're going to end up, picking up games that could help you down the road. And it is exciting, because anytime you can play somebody who, maybe you're not as familiar with, or they're not as familiar with you, a lot of times it leads to, a fun game to participate in and to watch.
Coach, just describe to me what it feels like to play your home games in arguably the most iconic atmosphere in the Mahoning Valley, the Struthers Fieldhouse.
Well, I mean, anybody that's been in that facility knows as soon as you walk in that there's just an aura about it, from the sense that, whether it's the smell of the popcorn when you walk in to just, the way the building is set up. It's one of the things that I enjoy the most about coaching at Struthers, is having, that kind of facility. It's just so different. Coming from the college ranks for a long time, it has a college feel to it. I mean, there's a lot of college teams probably out there that would love to play in a facility like that because of the way it's set up. So it is neat, and there's not a person that I've talked to that doesn't enjoy coming to the Fieldhouse, whether it's watching us or whether it's watching, the district tournaments that are there, Division IV and all that good stuff. I mean, it is just if you're a high school basketball fan or just a fan of basketball, no matter who's on the floor, it's just a fun place to be.
Mike Wernicki, the head basketball coach of the Struthers Wildcats, joining me on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline. You have a young man on your roster for the second year in varsity ball, Aiden Slocum, and that last name should sound familiar to folks in the Mahoning Valley. His grandfather, Jerry Slocum, the former head basketball coach at Youngstown State University, and obviously this kid has a very high basketball IQ. It's in his blood, literally. When you get a kid like that knows the game because his grandfather was a coach of a Division I mid-major program, I suppose you don't have to worry too much about him not being fundamentally sound.
No, you're right. He's spent his life in the gym, and that obviously goes a long way. The one thing about point guards, you got to have a point guard. Everybody thinks that everybody under 6 foot's automatically a point guard. Well, trust me, there's a lot that goes into it. You have to have a certain temperament, and you have to be able to learn to see the game at least in some sort of coordination with your head coach. And obviously, I've known Aiden since he was born. So he does have an understanding of what I'm trying to do and what I want. Does he execute it all the time? No, but he does. He does have that understanding, and because of the gifts that he has athletically, he can make up for some of the other areas. So it's been a fun relationship. And I'm blessed because I do have I have a lot of guys on my roster that kind of have, not necessarily the same background, but a similar background. And it just happens to be my 3 senior returners. I mean, Trey Metzger's dad was a great high school basketball player and played at the college level and coaches AAU. So it's been in Trey's blood. Brandon Washington's dad is the freshman coach at Cheney, and he's been around the game his whole life. So that's where I'm really lucky. I'm really lucky to have 3 guys that have the experience, but also have the background and have people in their homes that have an understanding of the game that can help out and kind of back up the points that I'm trying to make. So I am blessed from that standpoint, no question.
It sounds like you're doing more coaching and less teaching. And that's just synonymous with a great basketball program, or kids that are returning that have already been around the block and understand what is expected when they put on a varsity basketball uniform. And I got to imagine that coaching instead of teaching is probably a much, much better thing for you.
You know what? I'll be honest with you. I love the teaching part of it. I don't necessarily I don't differ the two terms. I think as a coach, you are a teacher. I don't think there's ever a moment in coaching that you're not teaching something. Now, if you want to stay strictly basketball, hopefully as your kids get more experience, then some of the little things that you used to spend a lot of time on, maybe you don't have to. But I don't think there's ever a moment, if you really understand what you're doing, that there's not a teaching opportunity there, whether it's on the floor or off the floor. And I don't ever, that's one of the things that I don't take for granted, and I don't take it lightly. I try to constantly be, to the dismay of my kids sometimes, I take every opportunity that I possibly can to teach something. And I'd say probably 75% of the time it's not basketball related. So, but to have kids, like you said, that have been with me now and have an understanding of the game, maybe there are some what you would call technical things that we don't have to spend as much time on. But I love the teaching part of it. I really do.
Mike Wernicki, the head basketball coach of the Struthers Wildcats, joining me on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Look, we're way, way, way down the road from tournament time, but come tournament time, the Boardman District, assuming they don't supersize the districts like they did in the fall sports, with the exception of football, this Boardman District, good God, there's 6 teams that could legitimately lay claim to a district championship, and if you were to supersize and put in another district and supersize these 2 districts, it would be even more of an incredible tournament run. But I know it's way down the road, but Division II this year is ridiculously loaded around here. No,
it is, and the one thing about it is, the only good thing is I don't have to play. If we're fortunate enough to have a good year and improve and be playing well at the end of the year, the only good thing is, you're not going to have to play all of the teams in the Boardman District. You only got to play 2 or 3, and that's a challenge enough. But the area, I'll be honest with you, I feel like we're going to the Super District this year. I don't understand why they would want to totally flip I don't know why they want to add more unknown variables to a year where there's so many variables already, but everything that I've heard is leaning towards the Super District. The only positive to that is if you do have a good year, you'll be rewarded by being able to play at home, which obviously for me, maybe by March, our circumstances are different, and we will have some fans in the field house if we're lucky enough. But if you start going to the Super District and you start adding other teams, then it even becomes more of a gauntlet. I specifically went out and scrimmaged Akron St. Vincent St. Mary and Mentor and Richmond Heights, and we had Canton McKinley on our schedule, and Cleveland St. Joe, specifically to try to get ready for some of that. I felt like if we were able to scrimmage St. V's and we went to a Super District and I had to play them in the second round or something like that, at least there's a familiarity between my kids and their program. I know we're jumping ahead, but I was trying to look ahead to say, if we are going to be good enough, then, you're going to have to beat really good teams. And that's just the reality of it.
Iron sharpens iron, and I am a huge proponent of teams that if there's expectations, really big expectations for that particular team, I am a huge fan of scrimmaging some of the elite programs in northeastern Ohio, because if you're as good as you say you are, there's a pretty good chance you're going to be meeting one of those teams that you scrimmage down the tournament trail. I think that's a great move on your part, Coach.
Well, again, and if we don't do that, then I have tremendous teams. If we do a Boardman District, that I just can't imagine. It's going to be unbelievably competitive. Like you said, there's no less than 6, and I would probably even say if I'm thinking back to last year's bracket, you might have 7 or 8 teams out of our 14 that can legitimately go into the tournament and say, we're good enough and we can win 3 games to get to that district championship. It's unbelievable how many good teams there are. And not only that, the talent is there, but the coaching is exceptional. And that's what makes it so difficult. There's so many high-level coaches in the area right now. And, anytime that we're fortunate enough to win a game, I feel lucky to be able to beat some of these guys because they've got a hell of a lot more wins than I do.
Well, 9 years ago when I moved back into the Mahoning Valley, I was appalled at what I saw basketball-wise. But I'm going to tell you right now, this might be the first year where I really believe that we have multiple teams that are capable of making a significant tournament run this year.
No, I agree. And I think, to be honest with you, in a kind of ironic sort of way, I think the pandemic has helped on the basketball side a little bit. It shortened some of the football season, so some of the schools had football kids, back a little bit earlier than they normally would. The OHSAA relaxed a lot of the rules in the summertime, which allowed us as coaches way more access than we've ever had and that we ever will have again with our kids. So I think a lot of teams were able to take advantage of that in the summertime, and I think some of it is showing up now.
Coach, best of luck to you as you play a daunting schedule, and you wouldn't want it any other way. And I'm really looking forward to seeing your kids play. And selfishly, I'm looking forward to heading to the field house just to get the popcorn because, my God, that's good stuff.
No, I appreciate your time, and we'd love to have you. Anything you ever need, don't hesitate to reach out. But thank you for everything you do, and stay safe and have a wonderful holiday season. And like I said, if I can ever do anything, just reach out, and hopefully we'll see you at the field house soon.
All right, Coach. Best of luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
You got it. Mike Wernicki, the head basketball coach of the Struthers Wildcats, and they play their games at the field house, the iconic Struthers Field House.